I'm Sarah Starr, and this is your space weather forecast for the day. Have you seen how many M-class flares we've had? Like a lot. And radio blackouts, and filament eruption, and solar wind geostorms coming. So a lot of energy right now. So let me know in the comments if the energy is really taking a toll on you and how you're using it to benefit. And remember, we also have a full moon in Leo on the 25th. So if you're a Leo, now is the time to manifest whatever you want. Yay, Leo! So let's see what the activity is going to be today and the next coming of days and the planetary alignments that are going to fuck with you. So high solar activity yesterday and today. Multiple M-class flares, mainly from the regions 3559 and now 3561. Both are very complex, highly magnetic areas, and these regions are really popping off right now. So here's what our sun looks like today. 3559. Really grew in size. Look how large this is, and that it is almost Earth facing. Now we're going to look at this region right here, and we're also going to look at 3561, which gained a complexity as well. So this one is going off a lot. This one is going off even more. So this is a look at our region 3559. This grew exponentially in size. Definitely the largest region that we have here on the sun. Look at the size and how much it increased. Also, our number of sunspots did die down because we had so many M-class flares, but we have a lot of potential in these regions, if you can see. But remember, yesterday there was so many more complex regions. Those sunspots have bursted off into those M-class flares and those C-class flares. That did produce a lot of CMEs, mind you, but we're still in beta and gamma range with this area. But check this out, 10% for an X-class flare from that region. So we have a lot of energy that is incoming from this region specifically. The proton levels are high. If this erupts and it's Earth facing, remember that, we can definitely see us slipping into those solar radiation storms. But we are expected to see a lot more M-class flares today, which we are seeing that already. A lot of C-class flares, obviously, but that 10% X-class flare, that's a big possibility. Now this is region 3561. Now this one also has a slight chance of having an X-class flare as well. Now the majority of these M-class flares that we had yesterday and today came from this region, and it kind of grew exponentially and kind of out of nowhere. But yes, multiple CMEs came from all of these M-class flares from this specific region, and lots of filament eruptions, which I will show you. Now, region 3561 went up in its class magnification. It gained a gamma component here, but we are seeing many C-class flares from here. 10% chance for M-class flares, although multiple M-class flares came from this region specifically, and we do have that 1% chance of having an X-class flare. But mind you, we have had regions before have 1%, and it gave us an enormous X-class flare. And of course, it sent us into an R1 and an R2 radio blackout. Now, this is from just a little bit ago. We had another M4 flare that literally just happened, although there is no modeling analysis at this moment that I can give you, but I do have an image of the absorption of these radiations from that M-class flare. So we are in an R1 to a R2 minor to moderate radio blackout at the specific moment. Now, this is one of the CMEs that we had yesterday. There were 4, mind you, and these are all going to be back to back, and they will have Earth-directed components. One of them will not, because it's going to go above the Earth-Sun line, but this is the first filament eruption that we had. It was 25 degrees in its length off the southwestern quadrant, and we're supposed to see the arrival of this one specifically on the 25th. We'll see a little bit of velocity around the 500 kilometer per second range. So we have the CME from the 20th hitting us today. We have the CME from the 22nd that is going to be hitting us around the 25th. And now we have 4 more filament eruptions that are going to be heading our way. So that is going to increase those solar winds, those geomagnetic storms, that solar radiation storms, those radio blackouts, literally all of it. And this is the second filament eruption that we had yesterday. Now, this one is mostly going to be a glancing influence, and the arrival is going to be right after that first CME. Yet again, this one is a lot higher in its velocity, a lot more power. However, it's going to be a glancing influence. It's not going to be a full-on effect onto Earth directly, but we are about 1,000 kilometers per second with this second filament eruption. And we had two back-to-back CMEs that went on at the exact same time. So this one is from that M5.1 flare from region 3559, which is the first region that I showed you. But we had a second one exactly yet again at the same time. Now, the one I just showed you, it's around the bulk around 500 kilometers per second. But yet again, these are going to be back-to-back. And then the second CME right after that one, actually at yet again the same exact time, this came from region 3561. So both regions went off. Both regions had a lot of power, and both are being modeled to arrive between the 26th and the 27th. So we're going to see a lot of energy, and we're going to feel a lot of energy from these back-to-back coronal mass ejection. And also this one, the bulk was around 500 kilometers per second. So we're going to see an increase in velocity, not the most increase in velocity because these are pretty low except for that second CME that I showed you. But we also had one other CME. But that CME is from a C9.6 flare, and the data analysis of that one is still being analyzed, but I will keep you up to date. So this is what we are going to see coming in today. We have had a weak enhancement in our solar winds, indicating that it is expected to enhance from the CME from the 20th, but we are going to see a little uptick in our solar winds, causing those geomagnetic storm levels to rise, which we only hit those KP4 levels today. So it's an indication that this is the expected arrival. This is not the large arrival from the CME that we're going to see. So it's going to arrive later in the day. We'll see exactly how strong it is. But yet again, if you are in a higher latitude, you will be able to see the aurora borealis pretty well as we go into those G1 to G2 minor to moderate geomagnetic storm levels. However, we did hit that KP4 level that I spoke about a little bit ago. Today, we are expected to reach those G2 geomagnetic storm levels between a KP5 and a KP6. Now, tomorrow is going to die down, but the 25th, like I said, we're getting more incoming CMEs. The 25th is when we are going to have the arrival of the CME from the 22nd. So that's why we're going to see a slight increase. Now, we almost hit those S1 solar radiation storm levels. However, we didn't go past the threshold. It did die down quite a bit. And this is an indication of that approaching CME. Now, this is supposed to go back down to background levels, but we have those regions with higher proton levels approaching, so this might actually go up. However, our electron flux is likely to reach high levels around the 24th to 25th, which means more ascension symptoms. And here's our coronal holes. There are two now. So this one did stick around. This one got a lot larger. Yet again, they are coming onto the sun, will be Earth directed. 3559 is right here. So anything that is going to happen from this region is really going to be pushed forward. So our solar winds will increase, especially if these get larger. But here we are with our Schumann. So there is quite a bit of difference if you have noticed. And also, frequency is still very high. This has been like a whole week of very high energy. And this is quite the transition. Remember, we have the full moon coming up. So this is going to be a lot of integration and a lot of manifestation. So with that being said, let's talk about the planetary alignment. So we're kind of going to get a reality check with our heart space and money matters because we have Venus and it's shifting into Capricorn energy. This is going to be all about exploring the changes in your heart. This is about new values. This is about new desires. This is about changes in relationship dynamics. This is a good thing. And this is going to help us focus on who or what makes us feel happy, safe, secure, stable. And it's also a period where we can start planning and strategizing how to make these elements stick for the long term. However, the moon is in Cancer and it is opposing Mercury and Mars, which means it's going to amplify our feelings to a whole different level. So inner conflict between your heart and your head is very likely. So are you feeling the shift in energy? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? It's a good thing and it's very, very positive. And remember, Leos, this is the full moon for you. Love ya.